As young Kofi was crying for his mother that night, the spirits of the dark forest came out at night to claim the child. Dark spirits filled with deep rage. As they were roaming around Kofi, trying to grab him, a bright light appeared together with strong lightning. After the bright light, proceed a heavy wind. In the wind was a woman with grey hair. Her eyes was like the color of white mixed with yellow. Her neck was surrounded with beads. In the heart of a small village lived a woman called Amara, who had been looking for a child for 3 years. She lived with her husband, Tobe, as they both longed for a child, but none had been given to them by the gods. With sadness in Amara's heart, she cried with a loud voice. She said, "I am no longer getting younger. Oh, who will take care of me at old age?" As Amara cried, her husband Tobe consoled her. Tobe is a fisherman, while Amara is a farmer. She farms at the forest and sells fruits in the village. One evening, Tobe was at the river setting his fish net. As he was setting them, a strange woman walked up to him, a woman with grey hair. Her eyes was like that of the moon. Her neck was surrounded with beads. She asked Tobe. She said with a voice that sounded like many waters,
"Why don't you have any fishes in your basket? I see you have been here for many hours."
Tobe answered, "It is not my fault. I have added fish food and some earthworms." But however, Tobe did not know that the fish the strange woman was talking about is not the fish in the river, but the child that have not yet been born to him. But because the strange lady spoke out of parables, Tobe was unable to understand. As the lady looked at him, she said, "Look at the water," and she asked Tobe, "What do you see?" Tobe said, "I see a reflection of the moon." And the strange lady said, "So your fishes shall be," and she disappeared. When Tobe turned around, he could not find the strange woman that was talking to him again. And so after, a heavy wind blew and began to rain. In the cold rain, fishes started jumping out of the river, entering Tobe's net. Tobe smiled and said, "Oh, my long stay was not for nothing." And so Tobe filled his basket with fishes and went home under the rain at night. As Tobe got home, his wife was cooking, and she said to him, "Why did you enter the rain? I already bought some fishes to make soup for us." Tobe told his wife Amara how he waited for hours at the river without a single fish on his net. And the strange woman came to him, and after she finished talking, fishes began to come out and rain started falling. His wife said she might be a miracle lady, and they both laughed, and so the night passed by. 2 weeks after, Amara began to feel unwell. She could not go to the farm for 3 days. When she visited the native doctor in their village, the great Babalawo, he told her that he does not shake woman, only his wife can. And so Amara waited until the Babalawo's wife came back. Immediately she saw Amara at first glance, she knew immediately she was with a child. She called her husband, who is the native doctor, and said to him, "What this woman carries is like no other. I sense a strange force inside her that is not of this world, and it can bring chaos to this land." However, the native doctor and his wife plotted and said, "When the child is born, we will call the villagers together and expose the truth to them." While Amara was waiting for her report, the woman witch doctor approached her and said the reason she was not feeling well is because she was with a child. Amara became happy after hearing the words that came out of the witch doctor's mouth, and she said, "Finally, I have been blessed with a child." She was happy, not knowing the darkness that awaits her. And so Amara went home and broke the news to her husband, Tobe. Tobe was so happy as the long wait of a child is finally over. As they were celebrating that evening, people around the neighborhood came around and celebrated with them. After hearing the news of Amara, Tobe's wife, pregnancy, and months after, Amara gave birth to a baby boy with grey hair, dark skin and grey eyes. As the child was born, his father wondered why his eyes was like that. His eyes reflect the moon. A child with grey eyes. As they were celebrating the birth of the child, the native doctor and some elders came in. As the native doctor looked at the child, he froze for some minutes, and he said, "Strange spirits have entered this land." And he started making some incantations immediately. But however, he was stopped by Tobe. Tobe said, "Why have you not come to celebrate with us? Why call on the gods with your incantation? What have we done that bring us this trouble?" However, the native doctor said to Tobe, "The day I set my eyes at your wife, I sense a strange force inside her. a force not of this world. He called the elders together and said, I am the chief priest of this land, and whatever I say is true. This child is not of this world. I sense dark forces within him. He should be taken care of now. And some of the elders in the village in and around Tobe's house was in shock. They started murmuring, making unpleasant sounds, and immediately Amara heard what the witch doctor said. She shouted, nothing will happen to my child. She cried with a loud voice, I waited for so long without a child, and now, after I have been blessed with one, you want to take him away from me? Never. And so they argued for many hours. And after some time, the witch doctor and the elders left Tobe's house, and some of their neighbors stayed with them to help Amara bathe the child and clean him up. At midnight, when everyone was asleep, Amara had a nightmare. She saw people chasing her with her child. She woke up with a loud voice. She quickly carried the baby and ran out of the house. Tobe got up immediately and said, where are you taking our child? And Amara shouted, people are coming. Tobe, being confused, went after her. As he was running towards her, he saw some men holding firewood in their hands and walking towards his house. And Tobe made a U-turn back to his house to confront the men. As he got there, the men arrested him and asked him of the child. He said, the child is no longer in the village. Tobe lied that he sent his wife to take the child to his mother's village, far from the village he was born in. But the guards refused to believe and continued to search Tobe's house, but they did not find the child or Tobe's wife, Amara. While the warriors of Tobe's village were searching for the child, Amara, Tobe's wife, took the child into the deep forest. She clothed the child with thick clothes so that he would not catch cold, and she placed the child behind a tree in a basket. She cried with a loud voice as she weeps, my precious child, born of the night skies, the moon shine bright today you were born. My precious Kofi, may the gods guide you through the spirits of this land. Farewell, my child, until we meet again by the grace of the Almighty One. And as she was leaving, a heavy wind blew in the forest. The sound of the leaves was like that of a trumpet, and so he was named Kofi, a child born of the night skies. His eyes was like the color of the moon, and it was a lonely night for the child, abandoned in the forest with no one to look after him. As young Kofi was crying for his mother that night, the spirits of the dark forest came out at night to claim the child. Dark spirits filled with deep rage. As they were roaming around Kofi, trying to grab him, a bright light appeared together with strong lightning. After the bright light, proceed a heavy wind. In the wind was a woman with grey hair. Her eyes was like the color of white mixed with yellow. Her neck was surrounded with beads. As the dark spirits saw the woman, they fled immediately. The woman carried Kofi. She spoke words out of her mouth unto him. She said,
my child, whom I gave life to in a barren woman, do not be afraid. I am the bringer of light. I have come to fill your darkness with light.
And she blessed the child, and she carried Kofi together with the basket, and she put Kofi and the basket on a flowing river that leads in straight paths. And because she was a water goddess, she guided the child through the waters. One morning, a woman who was washing clothes at the river in Anuka village, she saw a floating basket, and in the basket was a baby inside. The woman quickly called her sister, and they carried the child. As the woman held the child, she felt strange feeling inside her. They were both surprised because of the looks of the child. They have never seen a child with grey hair and grey eyes before. When they took Kofi to their village, people were staring at Kofi, wondering why it looked like that. Some called him an outcast, and others called him a spirit child. As Kofi grew, he began to do extraordinary things. He could swim fast and even stay underwater for many minutes. He even commanded fishes and call on storms. He commanded the winds, and with a glance, he could see a person's past and future. Kofi was no ordinary child. He grew into a fine young man. His mother, who he grew up with, told him about his past and how he was found on a floating basket on the river. His mother told him he's not his biological mother and that his real mother is somewhere in the world. And as Kofi heard what his mother said, tears started dropping from his eyes. One night, Kofi had a nightmare. He saw a woman running with a child. As she ran, a voice echoes from her mouth saying, Kofi, Kofi, Kofi. Kofi woke up shaking, and the next morning, Kofi told his mother that he was going in search of his dream mother. He told her that he saw someone echoing his name in his dream. As Kofi was about to leave, his mother blessed and prayed for him and said,
"May the spirits who protected you on the river protect you as you go in this journey,"
she said as she weeps. Kofi hugged his mother and went on. And Kofi took a canoe and paddled across the straight river. But when he got to the land, it was night already, and what he saw was a thick forest. And so Kofi made a fire out of thick rock stones in the forest, and he camped there at night. He made a little tent out of dry woods and leaf. As he was about to sleep, Kofi heard murmuring of sounds. As he turned, he saw dark beings looking at him. As he looked at them, the dark beings started flying around towards him, and Kofi quickly ran with full speed. As he was running, he slept and fell on the ground. But by the time he woke up, it was morning already. As Kofi looked around, he saw himself in a strange small village. As he walked around, the people of the village was looking at him. They were surprised to see a man built like Kofi. However, Kofi did not know where he was, and he was the only one different among all the villagers. And as he was walking, trying to figure out his next steps, two old women was gossiping him. They said, "This man looked like that child that was born 25 years ago. Look at his hair. How can a young man have grey hair like he's an old man? Look at his eyes. Also grey like a cat." As Kofi walked around the village, it was tasty. He walked into a man's shop and begged for water, and the man said to him, "Young man, it seems you are not from this village." Kofi said he is looking for a woman who lost a child. But the man said he came to the village new and he doesn't know such a woman. While Kofi was resting in the man's shop, the two old women who was gossiping Kofi went and reported what they saw to the village chief priest. They said, "Baba, a man who looked like that child with strange looks is in the village." And the chief priest asked, "What child?" And they replied, "That child that was born unto that barren woman who ran away with the baby." He then said, "Oh, I remember." He said again, "What happened to him?" They answered, "We saw a man that looks like him in the village." The chief priest followed them to the shop where Kofi was. When he saw Kofi, he asked, "Young man, from where have you come?" Kofi said, "I came across the rivers in search of a woman who lost a child." Kofi said he is moving out of the village for his next quest. But before Kofi could leave, some men from the village grabbed him and got him arrested. They charged him with trespassing in their land. When the news broke out about a man who was arrested with grey hair, as Amara heard the news, she ran quickly to the market to see the man. As she got there, she froze after seeing Kofi. His resemblance was that of his father, Tobe, but sadly, Tobe passed away 3 years ago due to an illness, and he was unable to witness his son's return. Amara quickly shouted, "Make a way! Make a way!" as she tried to create space for herself to get closer to Kofi, as the crowd was much at the village square, but she was not able to get close to him that afternoon. And later on, the chief priest discussed with the elders and they came up with a trial for Kofi, and they charged him with trespassing and a spy from an unknown village. But deep down, the chief priest knew in his heart that the young man is the little child of which his mother rescued at the day of his birth, after he accused the child of being one of dark spirits. They put Kofi in a cell at night, and they allowed visitors to see him only when they pay, so that they can make money from seeing him. And that night, Amara paid money to the securities of the cell, and she was allowed to visit the stranger, and the security men of the village did not know her from her past. When she walked in and got closer to Kofi, Kofi asked, "Old woman, have you come here to stare at me like others?" But however, Amara broke down in tears. As she weeps, she said, "I pray for this day to come. I prayed to the gods to guide you and return you back to your land. Oh, my beautiful Kofi." As she called Kofi's name, Kofi was in deep surprise how the woman knew his name, and he asked her, "Old woman, "You seem strange, but how do you know my name?" On Kofi's basket, his mother carved his name on the basket so that anyone who found him will call him Kofi. And the old woman said, "I know your name because I named you." After hearing this, Kofi opened his mouth and tears dropped from his eyes. Kofi said, "But how?" His mother replied, "Here is not a good place to discuss. When you have been freed, we shall talk." And Kofi asked again, "How do you know I will be freed?" And she answered, "The spirit that brought you back knows best." And she left Kofi. As Kofi was left in the cell, he started wondering what spirit the old woman mentioned before she left. And so the night passed by, and it was 3 market days after. As Kofi was facing trial in the village square, the witch doctor announced to the villagers who Kofi was. He told them he is the lost child with darkness in him, and he has returned to bring darkness to the land. And he said to the villagers, he should be prosecuted. The villagers, after hearing what the chief priest said, they picked up stones. But as they were about to throw the stones, a heavy wind blew them away, and they all fell to the ground. The wind came together with thunderstorms. A heavy rain fell that day, and it drove away some people from the village square. When the chief priest saw these signs, he understood that Kofi was pure. And as the rain was falling for many hours until night time, Kofi went under the rain. As he walks, the villagers was looking at him, the chief priest and his mother as well. They all watched as he went under the rain, and he looked at the night sky with his eyes glowing like the moon. He raised his voice and said to the rain, "Your rumbling should stop now." And the rain stopped immediately he said those words. And all the people that was around that moment fell down on their knees and worshipped him as a god. And he said to the people, "I come in peace, in search of my mother, a woman who lost a child at young age. I am that child, and I have returned to my fatherland. Please accept me as one of your own, a son of this land, who have been favored by the gods." After Kofi finished making this statement, the villagers gathered around and welcomed him back to the land, and also apologized for their bad behavior towards him. The chief priest also apologized to his mother, Amara, and said, "I wish Tobe was here, I would have asked for his forgiveness as well." After that moment, Kofi returned home with his mother Amara. His mother told him the stories of how she waited for a child for many years, and when she was blessed with one, and on the day of her delivery, the chief priest and the elders accused her newborn child as one with dark forces. She also told Kofi about how brave his father was. However, Kofi was happy and sad at the same time. Kofi also told his mother about the other woman that found him in the basket and how loving she was to him. Amara, Kofi's real mother, said, "My child, one day we will pay her a good visit." And so after, Kofi was happy together with his real mother, and they lived happily from that day.